was the Pac-12. Larry Scott should send Kliavkoff money because Kliavkoff took basically the battering ram of hate, although he could have done something about it.
Well, look, George Kliavkoff's problem was when he came in to clean up Larry Scott's mess, he didn't recognize what the actual mess was. You know, he kind of looked at it like, oh, well, this is a different thing. I'll fix this thing and it'll fix everything else. And then he didn't recognize what the actual mess was. He bought into, what the conference, presidents were telling him. And then at no point was he a strong enough commissioner to be like, guys, I've been in these meetings and I keep asking for this $50 million you guys say that we're worth. And the guys with the $50 million say that we're not. So what would you take instead of $50 million? And apparently that was nothing, and the conference dissolved. So I would think his biggest mistake overall was not reading the writing on the wall, not understanding what he really stepped into, and then after over a year of going 50 million, 50 million, 50 million, and everybody who had that kind of money going, no, that he didn't go, okay, what about 40? And then they probably would have gone like, oh, okay, that's fair.
Well, and they also he was firing back at Yormark, among others, because of what the Big 12 was doing and saying, and he got kind of smart-ass about that, thinking that he had, I guess, a couple of aces in the hole, Craig. It was not a great tenure by any means, set up for failure perhaps, but he did take the job, and it just never worked out.
I seem to remember a day not that long ago when George was kicking ass. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
George is kicking ass, and I don't know, I never saw anything close to an ass-kicking following that quote. The opposite, really. It was not a forgettable tenure. It was incredibly memorable for all the wrong reasons, and he didn't inherit the nicest boat or plane in the world to pilot, that's for sure. Larry Scott, among others, deserved their fair share of criticism for why the Pac-12 will basically no longer exist as we know it. And I say basically because there's still a Pac-12 that's alive, and we'll see what Oregon State and Washington State end up doing with that over the next 2 years and beyond. We know they've got that buffer period, but besides that, I mean, they're going to use these next 2 years, although they can't really use up all 2 years to figure out what they're going to be and if the Pac-12 still exists in name. But, it was just a terrible ending, and I think he's somebody who, fortunately for him in that position, like a lot of other very powerful people, made more money not doing his job over the span of a few years than most people make in their lifetimes doing a really good job at what they do. And that's just life, and that's the breaks. But, he got paid handsomely, and they'll mutually part ways, and he'll go off and I'm sure get some great gig somewhere else doing something else. But as far as being the Pac-12 commissioner, he was the captain going down with the ship basically, or watching it sink, and had no answers on how to fill holes or get it all fixed up and back on course. So we saw this coming. This was reported in various ways throughout the week, and so now it's official, and good for Oregon State and Washington State to be able to move on from that chapter. We'll see what they do now. I know they've got their replacement lined up, and with George Kliavkoff, I wonder if we see him around college football anymore or not, but maybe there's something out there that he does one day that makes us forget a little bit about this, but I doubt it, because that was such a huge chapter in realignment in college football, a piece of the realignment puzzle here over the last few years that's really set up whatever this next phase is with the ACC and whatever that all ends up looking like. So, an interesting day.
He made $3.6 million, according to various reports, as commissioner of the Pac-12. 1.8 his first year. Then he got a couple of years on top of that for $3.6 million. I don't know what Sankey or Yormark or whatever make, but I would have thought, I mentioned this to Garrett even before the show, probably in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 or so million. We know Goodell, among others, they make not ridiculous, they make what they can earn based on supply and demand.
Goodell makes ridiculous money.
It's like $37 million he made last year. So Goodell makes like mid-level quarterback money as the commissioner of
But
the
he
NFL.
also controls a highly
Yes, he
billionaire
does. No,
billionaire
yes.
business that he's also made more and more money for them, although it's not always been easy.
That's also Goodell's contract negotiation of pay me what I'm worth is 32 billionaires. They're like, I don't know, Raj, we don't have that kind of scratch.
Yeah.
Like, all right, no,
Yeah.
I know exactly what kind of money you have. No, for George Kliavkoff, he came, like, he was in TV for a while, then he was in the casino business, and I don't think that probably before this anybody would said that the casino business is easier than college football, but I promise you that, like, right now he's thinking, like, man, can I go back into that?
Yeah, probably will. I mean, the gambling business is booming, so
Yeah.
maybe that's his in right back into that sector. I don't know, but obviously being a major college commissioner didn't work out in this instance. So again, bon voyage, and good for Oregon State and Washington State to now take the next step in what they are going to do and what they are going to be. But still a little ways to go. He's got to at some point later this month. Is that the final? Like a couple of weeks away.
February 29th.
Yeah, a couple of weeks away, and then that'll all be official. So yeah, interesting to see that come to a close, just given the saga that was the past couple of years and the various reporting that was out there, and especially on his side of things, where they remained not just confident but arrogant in many ways, and that ultimately led to their downfall. So he had a piece in it. Larry Scott had a piece in it. I think a lot of others had fingerprints on it as well. It is what it is, and so that's for now his chapter in college football history.
All right, so that's that.